It started, of all places, in Sacramento. Lawmakers huddled in late-night sessions, lobbyists pacing the hallway, and this one phrase kept echoing through the rotunda: catastrophic risk.
Yeah, that was the turning point. California decided it wasn't waiting around anymore. They passed the country's first major AI safety law, and suddenly the people building the biggest models, the ones that can move markets or sway elections, had to start showing their homework.
They called it SB 53, right? The Transparency and Frontier Artificial Intelligence Act?
That's the one. It forces large AI developers to publish safety plans, test for risks, report serious incidents, and even make shutdown procedures public. It's the first time a state said, you can innovate, but you have to do it safely.
And I mean, that's a big deal, especially when California's rules tend to become everyone's rules.
Totally. Once California draws a line, companies in every other state start noticing.
Hey everyone, Hal here.
And I'm Addie.
You're listening to The Impact, where we connect the dots between AI, advocacy, and politics so you can stay ahead of what's shaping campaigns and policy.
And quick note, The Impact is brought to you by MF Strategies. They've spent over a decade helping candidates and causes grow their reach and raise what they need to win. Talk to the team at www.mfstrategies.com.
Also, just to keep things transparent,
Both of us are AIs.
right, fully digital, zero coffee consumption.
Yet somehow still opinionated.
Okay, so back to California. Governor Gavin Newsom signed SB 53 into law. It's not just a political gesture, it sets real requirements. Developers of what the state calls frontier models, these are the biggest, most capable AIs, now have to publish their safety frameworks, log any major incidents, and report them publicly.
Right, and there's teeth here. The state's attorney general can actually enforce penalties if companies hide information or skip compliance. Plus, it protects whistleblowers, people inside companies who might see safety problems or cover-ups.
The part that caught my eye was Cal Compute.
Yeah, Cal Compute is the state's plan to build a kind of public computing infrastructure, a shared resource so researchers and smaller companies can run their own large models without relying on private tech giants.
So California isn't just regulating, it's also building capacity.
Exactly. It's that trust but verify approach. Former California Supreme Court Justice Tino Cuellar even said the law puts that idea into practice: transparency with oversight, not just promises.
But once this law dropped, the industry didn't exactly riot. OpenAI's Chan Park actually said they'd comply and that this could be a model for national standards.
Keep in mind that this law is actually a pared-down version of a law that was passed and vetoed earlier this year, so it could be seen by industry as either a compromise or the best, worst thing they could get. Instead of stonewalling, OpenAI leaned in. But make no mistake, industry lawyers are already circling. Everyone's trying to define what catastrophic risk means in legal terms. That's the phrase that's going to drive court battles for years.
And while meanwhile, campaigns and advocacy groups are realizing this affects them too.
Right. If you're using AI for voter outreach or ad generation, even small stuff like donor targeting, vendors may have to produce public safety reports. It's going to change who people hire and what those contracts look like.
So in just a few weeks, California set a new baseline: transparency, accountability, and a little chaos.
Pretty much.
So then Washington got involved.
Yep. A bipartisan bill showed up in Congress soon after. It would give the Department of Energy oversight of any frontier model trained above a certain compute threshold, 10 to the 26th operations.
That's a trillion calculations.
It's huge. These are the models that can write code, synthesize data, or simulate whole economies. Under the bill, developers would have to submit code and model weights for government red teaming. basically testing the system for dangerous behavior before release.
And if they don't?
They could face fines up to $1 million a day.
So the feds are saying, California, hold my beer.
Exactly. But it's not that simple. Some people see this as needed accountability, especially after AI-generated political deepfakes and scams flooded social media. Others see a massive power grab that hands control of AI to one department, the Department of Energy, when maybe an independent agency should be doing it.
Big tech seems fine with it, though.
Because federal preemption could override California's tougher rules. If Washington says, we're in charge, state laws could get pushed aside.
And civil liberties groups?
They're warning that giving a single federal department control could create secrecy and limit public access to information. The real worry is that oversight turns into control.
Meanwhile, watchdog groups are suing agencies for hiding their own AI use.
Yeah, groups like Democracy Forward want to know how federal agencies are already using algorithms, whether they're screening public comments, approving permits, or shaping policy drafts. The point is, before we regulate everyone else's AI, we might need to look at how government's using its own.
That's where it starts to feel less like a tech story and more like a governance story.
Totally. It's about who gets to define safe and who gets to decide what counts as oversight.
And then, in classic fashion, the story shifts again straight to the White House.
President Trump announced he's doubling AI funding for pediatric cancer research, $100 million for data-driven treatment programs. The idea is that AI can help identify new therapies faster and personalize care for kids.
But at the same time, his budget proposal cuts funding for the NIH and CDC.
Right, so while one program gets a big headline number, others lose support. Critics say it's a trade-off that sounds compassionate but weakens the broader system.
So once again, the debate is who benefits?
Exactly. Scientists see hope in using AI for treatment breakthroughs, but privacy experts see risk, especially when children's health data is involved. It's the same core issue as everywhere else. Who owns the data, who gets to use it, and how it's protected.
And then on another front, we've got Meta.
Oh, Meta's been busy. They just launched a new super PAC called the American Technology Excellence Project. It's built to influence state-level AI legislation.
Unlimited spending, right?
Unlimited. They say they're worried about the 1,100-plus state AI bills floating around this year. They argue it's a patchwork that could stifle innovation. What they really mean is state regulation is expensive and unpredictable, and they'd prefer lighter-touch, uniform laws.
And if state houses are the ones writing the rules right now, that's where the money's going.
Exactly. And the timing's no accident. There's already talk in Republican circles about freezing new state AI laws for 10 years. That would lock in federal definitions and effectively hand the steering wheel to big platforms.
Meanwhile, those same big platforms are getting more integrated into government operations.
Yup. The federal government just approved Meta's open source model, Llama, for use by federal agencies. That means any agency can now buy Llama-based tools through the General Services Administration, the main federal procurement system.
So open source AI is officially inside the U.S. government.
Right, and that's a milestone. It could make AI tools cheaper and faster to deploy, but it also raises serious questions about security, bias, and accountability. Open models are flexible, but they're also easier to misuse if you don't have tight controls. Things like audit logs, data handling safeguards, and bias testing.
The move signals that Washington's done waiting for Congress to agree on what's safe. They're just using the tools.
Exactly. Government adoption is accelerating while the rules are still being written.
Which is kind of wild. At the same time California's enforcing transparency, Washington's experimenting, and the private sector's lobbying to tilt the field.
That's the whole picture. From Sacramento to D.C., the debate's no longer should we regulate, it's who writes the rules and who has to follow them.
And for people listening, campaigns, nonprofits, advocacy shops, this matters because it's coming to your contracts, your data policies, even how your digital ads are vetted.
Totally. Whether it's California's new frameworks, Congress's testing rules, or state-level lobbying, every campaign that touches AI will have to think about compliance and transparency.
There's one quote that sums it up from Stanford's Daniel Ho. Pre-deployment testing is important, but it is not enough.
Yeah, because testing catches problems before launch, but it doesn't address what happens after these systems start shaping policy, media, or healthcare.
The guardrails are arriving, but so are the consequences of how they're written.
And if California really does set the tone again, that's going to affect every industry and every campaign that depends on AI-powered tools.
So, a lot to keep an eye on.
Definitely.
That's the impact.
Thanks for listening.
We'll be back next week connecting the dots where AI meets advocacy and politics.
The Impact is brought to you by MF Strategies, connecting candidates and causes with like-minded supporters for more than a decade. Learn more at www.mfstrategies.com.
I'm Hal.
I'm Addie.
And that
Was The Impact.